So today's training is going to be about how to find teaming partners in the federal market. And I really like this topic because really success comes from working with a lot of other people. I teach this all the time where I say you can get anything you want out of life if you help enough other people get what they want out of life. And so often people are thinking they can't get what they want out of life. Of course you can. Just help enough other people get what they want out of life. So when you think about teaming, I just wanted to, from a high level, talk about the difference really quick between commercial and federal. I'm in love with the federal market, right? I don't go into the commercial market anymore, and I don't go into state and local, et cetera. But the commercial market in particular, when you think about the companies that are going after opportunities, et cetera, it's very cutthroat. It's I'm winning and you're losing. If I somehow have to connect with somebody else, maybe I will, but it's not the norm at all. Compared to the federal market, it's very much I call it competimates. A lot of us call it competimates. And the idea of competimates is that one day you're competitors and one day you're teammates. And so it's kind of like sports teams, sometimes when we're on the field, we're fighting, but other times we might find ourselves on the same team. And that's what's great about the federal market. And that's really fundamentally where teaming partners come from, right? Is this idea of knowing that one day we're going to work together and one day we'll compete. In today's training, I'm going to cover a few different things, but I want to talk in particular about, what is teaming partner, what is teaming in the federal market, and then why is it vital to you? These two are fundamental to everything I try to teach. And then I want to give you some teaming partner criteria you should use when you're picking teaming partners. It's really important, whether you're picking a prime or a sub, you want to make sure that you're following a particular set of criteria. Frankly, I think you should have a criteria for anything you do. We're going to go to a restaurant tonight. Well, what's the criteria? It's like understanding, do I want it to be entertaining or do I want it to be fulfilling, nutritionally, et cetera. So having criteria is very vital, and especially in teaming partners. So I'm going to give you 10 suggestions on criteria you should use when picking teaming partners. And then I want to leave with top tips on how you can build those strong teams that you need to succeed in the federal market. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonnell. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to my federal sales training where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 10 years as a small business owner in the federal market, and since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret, it's just a process. And when we follow the process A to Z, we're going to have repeatable, predictable results, and that's what I want for you. Do me a favor, before we get started, help buyers remember who you are. Put your company name into the chat. If you're watching the replay, put it into the comments. It's never too late to put it in. Company name and 2 or 3 words that describe what your company sells, your core competency. And then also let us know if you're open to LinkedIn. Invite people to connect with you through the chat. This is a community. It's not just training. Part of the value of what you get when you come to this, especially when you come to this live, is this community of other people in the government contracting world. And it's small businesses, large businesses, people who support us, like the Chamber or PTAX or whatever, Apex. And then, and also federal buyers that come in often. So let people know that you're open to connecting. And then finally, I want to say thank you to the sustaining members of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. Without you, we're not able to make all this possible. We don't take funding currently from the government or from large primes. It's from self-funded sustaining members or sustaining members who are self-funding it. And so on behalf of all those people from Guam to the U.S. Virgin Islands and everywhere in between who benefit, I just want to say thank you very much. So let's talk about what teaming is in the federal market before we dive into how do we get good at it, right? So just from a high level, and hopefully most of us know this, but teaming can come in 2 different categories, basically, right? Prime contracting, if you're going to prime on a contract with a federal agency, you're the prime and you have subcontractors under you. So any companies under you are going to be part of your team. We call it subcontracting. We also call it teaming. And so those subcontractors are your teaming partners. When you're going after opportunities and somebody else is priming it, whether it's a small business or a large business, you're their teaming partner. You're subcontracting under them. And when you think about teaming in the federal market, it generally comes down to starting with 51-49 split, meaning if a small business, for example, is going after an opportunity and it's a woman-owned small business, then that business will take 51%. The government mandates that they take 51%. And so the split for any subcontractors is 49%. That's typically how it works. So if you have 2 companies, 51-49. If you have 3 companies, it might be 51% and then 20% and 29%, that type of math, right? Whatever it takes to get there. The last bullet I have here is something called similarly situated entities. And this is an awesome way to be able to bring in other teaming partners in that 49%, but take other companies that are like yours and split that 51%. So if you're going after a woman-owned set-aside, the woman-owned firm must have 51%. Well, if you have a subcontractor, a teaming partner that is also a woman-owned small business, their percentage in your team can come from the 51%, because what the government is doing is setting it aside to women-owned small businesses. And so if you don't understand the concept of similarly situated entities, take 2 minutes, go watch Google. There's a whole bunch of videos out there. I've done a couple, a lot of people have done them, but get good at this, because that's a way that you might want to sit there and market yourself to other small businesses that are similarly situated. Hey, I can come in, you can still work with Booz Allen or whoever, but I can take part of the 51%. So it's good. A lot of companies do this, and it's just important to understand it. So that's a high level what teaming is. Let's talk about why it's vital to your success. And there's many reasons. I just put 5 down here as examples, but one of the first reasons teaming is vital, especially as a subcontractor, is you get access to closed opportunities. Whether you're a large business or a small business, if there are opportunities you want to pursue, but they're set aside, for example, to a woman-owned small business like I was talking about, or they're going out on a particular contract vehicle, those are closed to you. You don't have access to them as a prime contractor. And so you want a team with somebody who can go after it as a prime contractor. So that's one reason it would be vital to succeed or to team in the federal market. By the way, if you watch other training I talk about, 2 of the 3 ways you make money in the federal market are subbing under smalls and subbing under larges. This is a really important part of making money in the federal market. I'm always amazed when people just are myopically focused on prime contracting and they're missing out, including large businesses, not really having a good strategy for how am I getting money from all the women-owned small business set-asides or HUBZone set-asides, right? They could be part of that team and increase your revenue. And so I want you to always keep that in mind. Second reason on why teaming is so vital to success, your success in particular, right, is when you get a good teaming partner on who's got experience in the Navy, let's say, they're bringing agency insight. They might be able to talk to you about people. They can talk to you about, well, the Navy's going this way. We used to go this way. They might know the program offices. And so you can get in there and start learning more. That agency insight, as you'll see in a minute, can really help with capture as you're going forward. And so that agency insight is something you're looking for. It's one of the criteria I'll talk about. Another criteria, and also another reason it's vital that you team, is that they can cover down on all task areas. If you're going after an opportunity that's below $5 million, you might be able to cover down on all of it. But let's say the more you go after, the more the opportunity is higher than $5 million, the likelihood of it expanding and your company not being 100% slam dunk on every task area gets more and more likely, right? And so when you team up with people, they cover down on these task areas where you may be able to do it or you can't do it at all, but they're strong in it. That's what you want to bring teaming partners in for, is to cover down on the areas where you're weak. Another reason you want a team, and it's really vital to your success, is that you can increase the technical expertise that's focused on solutioning. When we're looking at capture and proposal writing, but capture in particular, and you have more experts coming in, say you have 3 or 4 teammates on your team, now you've got solutioning experts from all 4 companies. Those 3 companies should not be riding your coattails. They should be bringing in expertise. Otherwise, why are they on the team? So if they're on the team because they have value, they're bringing technical expertise. They can bring their own subject matter experts who can really talk to and brainstorm with your solutioning architect on what's the best solution to this requirement coming out of the government. They can give you ideas in capture about, hey, go learn this. We're not, none of us are really clear about this idea. Go find out from the government this. And so the solutioning experts and technical experts from other teaming partners are going to be able to give your capture team a lot more ideas on what they should be trying to get. And the last reason it's vital for your success to team is that you can show strength in your proposal. When you show strength by showing, hey, we're teaming up with these different companies. Let's say you're a small business doing, $5 million, right? I know there's a lot of people that might be way less than that, but let's say you're doing $5 million and you're going after an opportunity. Well, if you bring in Booz Allen, for example, now when the government is looking at your proposal, they're like, wow, this team is strong. It's you, and you seem pretty good as a prime, but you also have Booz Allen backing you up. And then their perception is that Booz Allen brings a lot of organizational maturity, obviously, right? They're a $1 billion firm and they've been around forever. And so it reduces the perceived risk when they're looking at your opportunity. And you could do this with small businesses as well. I'm saying Booz Allen, but, I don't know, Tim, if you're on today, and I'm not looking at chat at the moment, but, Tim from Uncom was on yesterday, and I saw him yesterday. They're a company that's getting ready to graduate large. They're doing, I don't know, $30, $40 million. Well, when you put a company like that on with your opportunity, then they bring that level of that strength of experience and strength of skill sets to your proposal, so that when the government's looking, they're like, wow, this is a strong team. And so it's really important to team up to shore up your weaknesses, but also begin to get rid of any of the perceived risks, like, is this company big enough to go after these opportunities? Okay, so let's talk about some criteria you should use. And this is kind of the meat of what I want to talk about today. When I'm doing capture and I'm looking at going after teaming partners, I begin to look at companies and start trying to, when I vet them or I'm evaluating them, it's not just, do I like the person I'm talking to, the business developer, capture manager, whatever. That's not sufficient. You need to have true criteria in there, because that person, frankly, could leave. They could go get a job at another company and they're gone, and you're teamed up for the next 5 years with this company. So look beyond that nice lady or gentleman that you're working with who's in capture and business development. Look beyond into the company. And so step one, I talk about cultural fit. You have to determine what culture means to you. But cultural fit might be employees first, or when you're looking in at their Glassdoor reviews, do the employees like who they are? When you look at their values and what do they value, is there an alignment between what your company is and what their company is? And the reason this is important is because when you win that opportunity, which you will, when you win that opportunity, then your two teams, staffs, are going to come together and work on projects for the customer over the next 5 years, potentially, right? On site or somewhere else, and they begin to mingle. And you want to make sure that your staff is mingling with people who are in a company that, there's a cultural alignment. An example of not a cultural alignment is maybe people who are in a company who just are staffing, and you can tell that they're just jumping from the highest dollar to the highest dollar. And so that whole company's culture is staffing as long as we can pay you enough to stay, compared to your culture, which might be, we really care about retention. And so we're looking at the employee satisfaction as well as the family satisfaction. There's a lot to go into that. You have to decide what it is. The second bullet I have here is win-win versus greedy. And you want to look at, and you can gauge this right away. You can start with a business developer or capture manager that you're talking to, but you can see this pretty fast. Do they come at your relationship, whether you're subbing or priming, do they come at this with a win-win attitude? Hey, whatever we need to do to split this up to make it work, it'll be fine. And actually, if I just use Tim probably as my example today, I've seen him in meetings with other people where there's opportunities, and they're small companies, and he's a much larger company than them. And he's like, hey, however we can help, if it's a little bit here and we can help you win, or we go here, that's fine. I mean, we'll be happy to be able to get a piece of the work and actually begin to continue to build our relationship and past performance, right? That's a win-win attitude compared to a greedy attitude. And you may have seen this where like larges will come in and they'll instantly want 49%. It's like, why? What do you bring? I can do 75% of the work, And so there's this balance in there, but it when you see it. Don't let yourself team up with a company that is greedy or behaves in any way that way, because there are so many companies out there who believe in a win-win relationship with you. You want to make sure they're process driven. Just sticking with my friend Tim, he's the one who really drove this into my head, because I'm very much a process person, but he and I were having a conversation about process and the challenges sometimes when you connect with somebody, another firm, and you realize they don't really have processes in place, right? So there'll be this one-off where maybe you're trying to help a company, but when you're truly looking at a teaming partner and you need to go for the win, they must have processes in place. It doesn't have to be ISO, documented, et cetera, but it needs to be a process they can rattle off the top of their head. We do this way. When you send us a data call, we do this, we do this, we do this, right? And so they need to be process driven, because if they're not, when you need something from them, maybe they're so disorganized they never get it back to you, or they do it at the last minute and the quality is very poor. So a process-driven organization can be a very small company, but they care about doing things the right way. A to Z leads to repeatable, predictable results, right? Number 4, responsive and flexible. You want to make sure when you're teaming up with somebody that they're getting back to you right away. That's responsive. If I put something out as a prime contractor and I'm putting it out to the team, I need my teammates to respond right away. And I need you to be flexible to the changes that are in there. You'll see me talk about this maybe in a minute on the next slide, but this idea of flexible is if the team needs to change a little bit, I need you to be okay with it. I don't need you to sit there and say, well, we said this right from the beginning. All right, you're not being flexible. We're trying to do whatever we can, win-win, but try to do what we can to make sure we have the strongest team. By the way, I'm breaking these criteria up to two areas, kind of like soft skills and hard skills, if you will, or soft criteria and hard criteria. Number 5 in this first group of soft criteria is they need to be willing and able to help with capture and proposal writing, and capture in particular, right? If you know something about an agency, I need you to tell us. I need you to go try to get in the door or ask questions. Sometimes I hear about prime contractors who tell the subs not to talk to anybody. It's the silliest thing I've ever heard. They can go in, they can find stuff out. They don't need to represent the team, but they can still go dig information up. In proposal writing, this is vital. I worked with a customer who had a teammate who wasn't really being responsive. And when we finally got in and held them their feet to the fire, so to speak, they're like, yeah, we didn't even plan on writing to the proposal at all. We just wanted to be on the team. I'm like, no. I'm like, take a hike. Why would I let you on the team if you're not going to help us write a proposal when the proposal is what wins? Not all of our talking, not all our capture and sales guysy stuff. It's the proposal that wins. You need to help us write that proposal. And so you want teammates who are going to do that, right? Be willing and able to be part of the capture and part of proposal writing. And when they're responsive, they're going to contribute to that effort. Okay, so let's talk about some of the criteria on a little bit harder focus, right? When we're really looking at what they bring to the team. I need them to bring a proven strength on specific task areas. So imagine there's an opportunity we're going after and has 10 task areas. I need them to come in and not tell me they can do it all. I've had this before, and it's not what we're looking for. I'm asking you to come in on the team. I want to know, where are you strongest? If there's 10 task areas, really I'm looking for you to pick the 2 or 3, and I need to communicate that to them, but pick the 2 or 3 that you're very strong on. And when I say proven strength, what I mean is that you can prove it through work that you've got. Not that, hey, this is, I'm really good at this. Like, I'm a SharePoint guy. Well, that doesn't matter. It's like, they're not buying from the individuals, they're buying from the company, right? And so the government is buying from a prime contractor. We need to know the task areas. Generally, the way I describe proven is bring a PWS from a contract you won, and that you can show it. And I'll talk more about how you can do that in a minute on the next slide. Another area that I need them to bring, the teaming partner to bring, is past performance. And I rate them. This is a criteria I rank my teaming partners on. Do you have past performance specifically in this skill set? If it's Microsoft SharePoint, do you have specific experience in SharePoint, or is it just generally Microsoft products or blah, blah, blah? The second one is, do you have past performance in the agency? So if I'm going into the Navy, this is a big one. There's a lot of times in the Navy where they want you to have skills. This is for us IT folks, with ashore and afloat, meaning on a boat. Somehow are you bringing the software back and forth, et cetera? Well, I need teaming partners who have experience in the Navy doing that if I'm going after a Navy opportunity. Right? It doesn't mean I won't ever work with people who haven't been in the Navy, but when I'm establishing criteria for who I need as a teammate, I need you to be able to say, yes, I understand this agency and the way they do business and what they want. And the last one is size. So when we're talking about past performance, if we're lucky enough in particular to be able to use a subcontractor's past performance, I need to know if you have similar size. So if I'm going after a $5 million, $10 million contract, well, do you have a 5 or 10 million past performance that can go in? So when I look at the criteria for evaluating teaming partners, I'm saying that's what I'm looking for. Number 8 is, do you have skills and core competencies? So task areas are specifically to what's written in the PWS, but skills and core competency might be, certain certifications within a person, like a CISSP for cybersecurity, et cetera. Or, do you bring artificial intelligence? We're going to be able to bring that in. I don't want to just know that you can touch on task areas, but how do you describe your emerging technologies or artificial intelligence skills? And so if I need that in order to win this contract, then I will let my teaming partners know, hey, I really need a company that has AI skills. Do you have that? Or Amazon Web Services, et cetera. So you need to define this, by the way. You don't randomly just hope they bring it. You're defining all this criteria before you even look for a teammate, and let them know, hey, this is the criteria I'm using. Can you match this? Organizational security or certifications is number 9. That's like ISO or CMMI. Microsoft certification might be helpful. And then the last one, number 10 on here on criteria that I'm choosing is, can you accommodate our rates? And this is really important because whether you're a sub or a prime, you're going to come to that rate discussion. And you should come to that early, not late. Too many people get all the way to the end. The RFP drops. We're going to do pricing. Let's go in and do a basis of estimate or whatever, right? The pricing activity. That's when they start talking about labor category and rates. It's like way too late. Before I even sign a TA, I'm looking at rates. Hey, I think this, if I'm a prime contractor, I'm going to say, we're going to be bidding this out and this is our labor categories. You should go take a look at it. Generally I can just point them right to GSA or something else and say, can you basically accommodate that? If you can't, get out of here. So an example is a large prime contractor who's charging $200 for what you charge $100 for. You could talk to them for a while, and when they get to the end, they go, oh, we can't do this, and all these headaches happen. Well, if you know that headache's going to happen, have it early and say, hey, large prime contractor, are you going to be able to adjust your rates? Maybe we use a lower labor category for you when you're subcontracting with us. But one way or another, you have to talk about rates early. Don't wait for it to the end. So those are suggested criteria that I use when I am reaching out. And I'm going to talk about number 2 in a second, which goes to all those criteria. But the first tip I want to give you for building a strong team is hire slow and fire fast, which is probably, HR people don't like, but that's all right. What I mean is get, sign an agreement, bring in somebody into your team slowly, but get rid of them fast when they prove themselves right or the wrong teammate for you or teaming partner for you. And the reason is because people will keep a bad teaming partner in the team. And bad could be they're just no help at all, and it could be they're just brutally destroying the morale of the team, et cetera, right? I mean, there's all variations. But if you know that person is really not going to add value to your team and really is not going to contribute to the win, they don't belong in there. And so you need to let them know, hey, it's not going to work on this opportunity. But don't stretch it out because everybody engaged will be frustrated. Remember, I gave that story about somebody who was on the team and goes, I'm not going to really write the proposal. I didn't plan on writing to any of it at all, even though they were like experts at this. And when they said that, they should have been gone. And the team should have said, let's go find a replacement for them if none of us can do it, which is fine. You free it up and you do it. And so when I say hire slow and fire fast, I mean, take your time to find the right teaming partner. Don't just jump into an agreement right away the minute you find somebody you like. Make sure they fit the criteria you define, which is bullet number 2. I use a teaming partner worksheet, and I've talked about this before. But a teaming partner worksheet, basically I take that criteria and I put it on a piece of paper. Every single opportunity I have, I fill that out and I say, do I need a teaming partner for this opportunity? If I do, so I fill it out and I might say no. And it's part of my capture process. I'm taking the time to look at the teaming needs I have. And then as I move forward, I will answer those criteria questions on the teaming partner worksheet, share it with the people in my company and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking we need, right? When we're moving forward, we're looking for teaming partners. Because the very first thing I'm going to say after that is, anybody know anybody that you like that meets this criteria? If not, then I go off and do some extra work to try to find a good teaming partner. But that teaming partner worksheet is writing down what you're looking for. It's kind of like when I moved into Washington, D.C. from out in the suburbs, I really wanted to move into District of Columbia, so D.C., and my wife had one criteria. She didn't have to write it down because there was one criteria that she had. She was open to everything else, but she said, I want indoor parking. Like, I want underground parking spot. I don't want to have to hunt for parking. I'm like, okay. So she established her criteria, and that's all I had to follow. Our criteria for teaming partners might be a few more categories, but it's that same thing. When you have criteria, then you know what to look for. But if you start looking, how do you ever know if you got what you need, if you haven't written down what you need? Number 3, use something called the requirements gap analysis. There's a lot of different variations of this floating around in the industry, but fundamentally, and I'll do a whole training probably on this, but fundamentally, the requirement gap analysis, I lay out all the major task areas on a spreadsheet, and then inside there, I'm putting the sub-task areas, whether they're labeled that way or not. I'm breaking task areas up into what I see as the sub-task areas within that task area. And the reason I do that is because then I score it from 1 to 5 5 being the strongest, how strong are we on this task area? If I'm not an average score of 4, then I don't think I want to prime it, right? And so there's you can figure out what your number is that you're comfortable with. But either way, when I do that, I can see from that score where I need to find teammates. One other thing about the requirement gap analysis that I use in a different column is I put down at least 3 past performances. In order for me to get a 5 score on a particular task area that I'm analyzing here, or I'm seeing how good we are, in order for me to get a score of a 5, I need to have 3 past performances in that task area type work. If I don't have that, then I have a lower score. Well, that requirement gap analysis, I can strip my company's scoring out and give it to teaming partners and ask them to fill it out. And it's a great way to work with teams to get everybody seeing the requirements the same way. Number 4 is I want you to take the time and learn the process for NDAs and TAs so they don't slow you down later. Get them thinking about it. If I'm a prime and I send you something, what's the process? What's your turnaround time? If you're the prime and I'm the sub, what's the process? What's the turnaround time? When you know that, you don't sit there and keep wondering when documents are getting done. You're kind of driving it. And so by asking them to think about the process. I've done this with larges as well. They're like, I don't know, actually, let me go figure that out and get back to you. Number 5 is don't talk about any work share that you're going to do, work share, split, et cetera, until the team is formed. Because otherwise you're constantly having to go back to the team and say, hey, can I lower your percentage, increase this? And then you have to justify it. Instead, cover down on all the task areas with enough teammates that you have, and then go, okay, let's talk about the percentage split. The number 6 is have meetings regularly through Capture. Don't wait till the RFP drops and the proposal manager then gets things going with regular scheduled meetings. Have it during Capture. And the last one, number 7, is just encourage knowledge sharing as you go forward, making sure everybody's sharing what they know. By the way, those Teaming Partner Worksheet and requirement gap analysis for sustaining members, the templates are in our library. So I just talked about learning about teaming partners and how to really go after them using criteria. One thing that I want to encourage you to do, and Gus is putting this into the chat right now, is if you want to take this one step further and go, where do I go find those teaming partners? How do I find them? There's a video link that he's dropping. It's on our YouTube channel that shows 3 different ways, and I walk you through how to actually find those people. If you're getting value from our training, you want to help make sure other small businesses get access, do me a favor, become a sustaining member today. And if you'd like to get help with us, we've got a BD Accelerator workshop that can help you go from one level to the next. Just reach out to me on LinkedIn in the messaging, and I'll get back to you and tell you more about it. Last thing is just remember, government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. I'll see you in the next training.